Hello, Senator Sanders. Hello, Mr. Mamdani. I'm Abdul Innes from Canarsie, Brooklyn. I just look at this campaign, and it reminds me a little bit what happened a few years ago in Buffalo. A lady by the name of India Walton ran and she defeated the Democratic incumbent.
Right.
But somehow that Democratic incumbent ran as an independent, and I've heard some schemy things were going on. He was able to somehow retain his seat. And it's almost like deja vu right now with Governor Cuomo. Well, Andrew Cuomo right now, who's you defeated, but he's back as an independent. And I don't know if it's a Democratic Party of New York. It seems like it's going on all over the country. I think Seattle, some lady named Wilson is winning and doing great. So how do we make sure that something not like this doesn't happen again, and it's just straight up, you win and have fair elections?
We have to beat Andrew Cuomo one more time. We do. We do. This is a man who does not understand that no means no. This is a man who lost by 13 points to a campaign, our campaign, that got the most votes in New York City primary history. And still thinks that this is his race to win. But I appreciate the question also because it's a reminder to us that this job is not done. The best way to prepare for January is by winning a mandate in November. And we will face an incredible amount of money being spent against us. We will face smears and slander. We will face the kind of opposition that we have not yet seen in this city. And yet we know that we have all the same ingredients that defeated those same things in the primary. So, what my ask is to each and every one of you, we do not ask for your money because we are finished fundraising. We ask you for something more valuable. We ask you for your time. Can you put your hand up if you've canvassed for this campaign? This is beautiful. Now, I would ask you to come and canvass again. I would ask those of you that didn't raise your hand to do so, to join us, because it will be people, the likes of which we have not seen. 52,000 volunteers in the primary. We are going to get to 90,000 volunteers in the general. I don't know if we've said that publicly, so to the field team, now we really got to get there. We're good? 90,000. We knocked on 1.6 million doors and made 2.1 million phone calls. And now we have to do it again. And I want to just say one last thing on this, which is that we know that Senator Sanders' politics, the vision, the ethos of this campaign, it's not just specific to Democrats. It speaks to people across party lines. On Election Day, I was outside Maria Hernandez Park in Bushwick. And I was walking, it was about 6 or 7 p.m., and I had, like many candidates, convinced myself this was the end. We were going to lose. And in that spiral of anxiety, a man came on his motorbike. He took off his helmet. I had no idea what he was going to say. He said, "Can I get a selfie?" I said, "Brother, have you voted?" He said, "I was told I can't vote in a primary." I said, "Who told you that?" I said, "Give me your driver's license. Let's look up your voter registration." He was a registered Republican. He's 18 years old, registered Republican. And I said, "You can't vote today, but if we win, you can vote in November." I tell you that story because there are so many other New Yorkers just like him who see themselves in this campaign, see themselves in this struggle, and they need someone to knock on their door, to call their phone, to let them know that they have a place in this movement because they have a place in this city. That's what we need to do.
If I might, I want to add a point to that very good question. Maybe a little bit out of place here, but I want to do it. I find it a little bit strange that when we have a candidate who competed very hard against a number of other people in the Democratic primary, my understanding is you won that primary. Is that correct? My understanding is you are the Democratic Party candidate for mayor of the city of New York, correct? Now, apropos of that question, I find it hard to understand how the major Democratic leaders in New York State are not supporting the Democratic candidate. One might think that if a candidate starting at 2% in the polls gets 50,000 volunteers, creates enormous excitement, gets young people involved in the political process, gets non-traditional voters to vote, Democratic leaders will be jumping up and down. This is our guy. So we got another fight on our hands, and that is the future of the Democratic Party.
At a Fight Oligarchy town hall in Brooklyn, New York, on Saturday, Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for NYC Mayor, took aim at former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Mamdani recalled a troubling situation from a few years ago in Buffalo, where a woman named India Walton defeated the incumbent Democratic candidate, only for that same candidate to run as an independent and retain his seat. He likened this to the current situation with Cuomo, who, after being defeated, is now attempting to make a comeback as an independent. Mamdani expressed frustration over Cuomo's persistence, despite losing by a significant margin in the primary to a campaign that received the highest number of votes in New York City primary history. Cuomo, he argued, refuses to accept that his time has passed. Mamdani also pointed out that defeating Cuomo once again was necessary, as the former governor did not seem to grasp the concept of no and continued to think the race was his to win. The town hall was a reminder of the hard work still ahead. Mamdani urged the crowd to not just contribute money, since fundraising was complete, but to offer their time instead. He highlighted the success of their primary campaign, where 52,000 volunteers helped knock on 1.6 million doors and made 2.1 million phone calls. Now, Mamdani called for an even greater effort in the general election, aiming for 90,000 volunteers. One moment during the event stood out when Mamdani shared a story of a registered Republican who mistakenly thought he couldn't vote in the primary. Mamdani helped him check his registration, and while the man couldn't vote that day, he was encouraged to vote in the upcoming November election if the campaign succeeded. Mamdani's story underscored the importance of reaching out to voters, particularly those who may not traditionally feel involved in politics, ensuring they have a place in the movement. Adding to the conversation, a fellow attendee raised a point about the lack of support from major Democratic leaders for Mamdani, who had run a campaign filled with excitement, youth involvement, and a surge in volunteerism. This question further emphasized the uphill battle Mamdani faced, not only against Cuomo but against the broader Democratic establishment that seemed to be turning a blind eye to the momentum his campaign had created. As the discussion wrapped up, it was clear that Mamdani's fight wasn't just about defeating Cuomo, it was about the future of the Democratic Party and ensuring that its leaders truly represented the will of the people.